Hello there, 4th and 5th graders. Welcome to today's math lesson, which is called Factors and Multiples. Please write that title at the top of the next available page in your math notebook. Factors and multiples. So that's what we're learning about today. What are factors and multiples, and what's the difference between factors and multiples? So let's take one number and list the factors and the multiples of that one number so that we can see what factors and multiples are and how factors and multiples are different from each other. So let's take the number 4. Okay, the factors of 4 are all the numbers that can be multiplied together to equal 4. So if we're going to list the factors of 4, we know 1 times 4 equals 4, so 1 and 4 are factors of 4. There's only one other way that we can get 4 when multiplying whole numbers together, and that's 2 times 2. So the only factors of 4 in the whole wide world are 1, 2, and 4. And again, that's because 1 times 4 is 4 and 2 times 2 is 4. And so one way of listing factors is by listing what's called factor pairs. The factor pairs of 4 would be the numbers that can be multiplied together to equal 4. So the factor pairs of 4 would be 1 times 4 and 2 times 2. So again, the factors of 4 are just 1, 2, and 4. And those are all the numbers that can be multiplied together to equal 4. Okay? Let's list the factors of a different number. Let's list the factors of 12. The factors of 12 are all the numbers that can be multiplied together to equal 12. And remember, 1 is a factor of every number because 1 times something will always equal a number, whatever that number is. You just multiply 1 times itself. So 1 is a factor of 12 because 1 times 12 equals 12. So we know the smallest factor of 12 is 1, the smallest factor of every number is 1, and the biggest factor of 12 will be 12 itself. And that's how it is with every number. The biggest factor of each number is that number itself, because that number times 1 will always equal that number itself. So 1 and the number itself are always factors. 2 is also a factor of 12. Why? Because 2 times 6 equals 12. And whenever you have the number that times 2 equals that number, whatever that number is that equals the number you're finding factors of, when you multiply it times 2, that'll always be the second biggest factor of each number. And then we also know 3 times 4 equals 12. So those are all the factors of 12 in the entire world, because they're the only numbers you can multiply together to equal 12. So if we want to list factor pairs of 12, the factor pairs of 12 are 1 times 12, 2 times 6, and 3 times 4. These are all the factors of 12, and these are what's called the factor pairs of 12. Again, the factors of 12 are just all the numbers you can multiply together to equal 12. And to list those numbers as factor pairs is to list each number with the number that you can multiply it by in order to equal 12. So that's what factors are, but what about multiples? We just listed the factors of 4 and the factors of 12. Now let's list the multiples of 4 and the multiples of 12. Now one thing that's important to keep in mind before we even start is that while we could list all the factors of 4 and we could list all the factors of 12, we cannot list all the multiples of 4 or all the multiples of 12. And that's because multiples actually go on forever. If you're going to list the multiples of a number, if you're going to list the multiples of a number, it's actually an infinite list. Because when you're listing multiples of a number, you're really just counting by that number. So if I was going to list the multiples of 2, it's just 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40. I can keep going. I can count by 2s forever. I mean, I can't literally count by 2s forever because eventually I would die and I wouldn't be able to keep counting by 2s. But if I was like AI or something, if I was like a disembodied intelligence that lived forever, I could count by 2s forever, because you can always add 2 more to a list of numbers. It never has to stop. So that's one important distinction to keep in mind, that factors are a finite set. That means there's a certain number of factors for each number, and it doesn't go above that. You can list all the factors of whatever number it is that you're listing factors of. But you can't list all the multiples because multiples go on forever. So rather than listing all the multiples of 4, let's just list the first 5 multiples of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What would be the first 5 multiples of 4? Well, the first multiple of 4 would be 4. And the second multiple of 4 would be 4 more than that, because we're just counting by 4s. It would be 8. And the next multiple of 4 is just 4 more than that, 12. And the next multiple of 4 would just be 4 more than that, 16. And the next multiple of 4 would just be 4 more than that, 20. So notice when you're listing multiples of a number, like with the number 4, you're just counting by that number. You're just counting by 4s. And notice that that's what you do when you make a times table chart. Let's take a look at the times table chart here. So here is a times table chart, and here's the 4s. To list the multiples of 4 is just to list what's on your times table chart. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. And that's the first 12 multiples of 4, because it's 4 times 1 all the way to 4 times 12. Okay, now let's list the multiples of 12. But again, we can't list all the multiples of 12. So let's just list the first 5 multiples of 12. Because why can't we list all the multiples of 12? Because we could count by 12s forever. We would never have to stop. Because you can always, whatever number you get to, you can always add 12 more to it. So the first multiple of 12 is 12. The second multiple of 12, if we're counting by 12s, the next one would be 24. And the next one after that would be 36. And the next one after that would be 48. And the next one after, did I mix something up here? No, I didn't. The next one after that would be 60. Okay? For some reason I got confused for a second there. I'm not really sure why. I think it's just the pressure of being on video. I know what the first 5 multiples of 12 are. So it's 12, 24, 36, 48, and 60. And again, you could keep going. It would be 72 and then 84 and so on. You can count by 12s forever. Okay, let's list the factors and the multiples of some other numbers. Okay, let's take, I don't know, the number 58. Okay, so the factors of 58 are all the numbers you can multiply together in order to equal 58. And so the only factors of 58 are 1 and 58, and then 2 and 6. Not 2 and 6, 2 and 29. 2 and 6. There I go, just misspeaking again. It's 1 and 58 and 2 and 29. Those are the only factors of 58 because they're the only numbers you can multiply together to equal 58. We're not going to list multiples of 58 because it would be a little bit arduous to count by 58s, but we could do it. Remember, if we were going to list the multiples of 58, we'd just be counting by 58s. But when we're listing the factors of 58, we're listing all the numbers that can be multiplied together to equal 58. So the reason 1, 2, 29, and 58 are factors of 58 is because 1 times 58 is 58, and 2 times 29 is 58. And those are the only numbers in the world that can be multiplied together to equal 58. So those are the factors of 58. And let's go ahead and do the number 70 now. Let's list all the factors of 70, okay? So there's a few more of 70. We know 1 is a factor of every number. 1 is a factor of 70 because 1 times 70 is 70. Do we think 2 is a factor of 70? Well, 2 is a factor of every even number. And every number that ends with a 0 is an even number because it's a multiple of 10. And since it's a multiple of 10, it's even. So it also has to be a multiple of 2. So 2 is a factor of 70. But what times 2 equals 70? Well, think about it. 2 times 30 would be 60. If we add 5 to each of those 30s, we'd get 10 more, which would be 70. So 2 times 35 would have to be 70. Now, is anything times 3 70? So if you think about your 3's, you know 3 times 12 is 36. And if you keep going and you get up into the area around 70, you'll find that actually nothing times 3 equals 70. Nothing times 4 equals 70, but something times 5 does equal 70. And what times 5 equals 70? 5 times 14 equals 70. And then there's just 2 more things that equal 70. We know that, of course, 7 times 10 equals 70. So those are all the factors of 70. So quite a few more factors of 70 than factors of 58. So, and again, to list the factor pairs, 1 times 70 is 70, so that's a factor pair. 2 times 35 is 70, so that's a factor pair. And 5 times 14 is 70, so that's a factor pair. And 7 times 10 is 70, so that's a factor pair. So there's 4 factor pairs of 70. 1 times 70, 2 times 35, 5 times 14, and 7 times 10. So those are all the factors of the number 70. Okay, so that's what factors are. All the numbers you can multiply together to equal a number. Now let's list some more multiples. We'll list multiples of smaller numbers because it's easier to count by smaller numbers. Let's list all the multiples of the number 3. No, I just said all the multiples. Can we actually list all the multiples of the number 3? No. So let's just list the first 5. What are the first 5 multiples of 3? Well, they're all the numbers that you say when you count by 3s. So what's the first number you say when you're counting by 3s? Well, 3, of course. And then 6, and then 9, and then 12, and then 15. So the first 5 multiples of 3 would be 3, 6, 9, 12, and 15. Now I'm going to go ahead and continue that. 3 more numbers, and I want you to find those next 3 numbers independently. Go ahead and pause the video, find the next 3 multiples of 15, and then press play on the video once you found them to see if you got it right. Okay, hopefully you found what numbers go right here, and then you pressed play on the video and you already have the answer there and you're just watching this to see if you got it correct. So the next one would be 18, the next one after that would be 21, and the next one after that would be 24 if you're counting by 3s. Those are the next numbers that you would get to. Alright, I'm going to give you a couple more to do independently. I'll give you one where you have to find the factors and one where you have to find the multiples. Okay, I want you to list all the factors of 93. Go ahead, and before you start, I'm going to let you know that there is only 4 of them. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I want you to list those 4 factors as factor pairs as well. So it's going to be something times something, something times something. And if you've been paying attention, you already know what 2 of them are, because 2 numbers are the factor of every number in the entire world. Okay, and the other thing is I want you to then also list the first 5 multiples of 7. Okay, so go ahead, pause the video, fill in all of these blanks, and then press play on the video and see if you got it correct. Alright, hopefully you paused the video and you found these answers, and then you pressed play and you're just watching this to see if you did it correctly. So, all the factors of 93. Well, we know 1 times the number itself. Those are 2 of the factors of every number in the entire world. And the other 2 numbers that can be multiplied to equal 93 are 3 times 31. Because 3 times 31 is 93. So the factor pairs would be 1 and 93 and 3 and 31. Okay, good job if you got that correct. Good job even if you didn't, as long as you did your best. And then what are the first 5 multiples of 7? They're just the first 5 numbers you say when you're counting by 7s. So the first number you say when you're counting by 7s is of course 7, then 14, then 21. Then after 21 you say 28, then you say 35. So 7, 14, 21, 28, 35. Alright, I hope this lesson makes sense to you. Ouch, I just stabbed myself with a pen. Go ahead and do the quiz, which is attached under this video in your Math Google Classroom, and I will catch you next time. This is Mr. Dauber, signing off.